Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Lunch with a Boxer. We're very excited to have you here today. My name is Gina. I'll be your moderator. I'm also one of the admissions counselors here. And today's session is going to be very exciting. We have two folks from our Outdoor Pursuits department who's going to hear and chat a little bit about what that program is and the upcoming voyage trips that we have for our incoming students. Before we get started, I did want to just go ahead and remind everyone that this is being recorded and we will be posting this on our YouTube channel, so you will have access to the video. Any links that we mentioned during the session, I'll make sure to add it into the description box of the YouTube channel. If you have any questions throughout the session, please feel free to go ahead and enter it in the chat box. You can send it so that everybody can read the questions, or if you're feeling a little shy, you can definitely send it to me in a private message, and I'll make sure that the questions get read aloud. And then we're just going to have the presentation and then shift to the Q&A and ask the questions in the order it comes through. So I know we have just a few more minutes before. Actually, I think we could just go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and ask our team from the Outdoor Pursuits to hop in here. Hello, how are you today?
Good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for hopping in today. So I know you are coming here from Outdoor Pursuits. If we can start off with your introductions and kind of what you do, and then kind of start your presentation from there. And again, any questions, feel free to go ahead and enter it in the chat box during the presentation, and we'll make sure to make note of it and ask those questions at the very end. So I am going to go ahead and hand this off to you guys here.
Perfect. Thank you, Gina. Hi, I'm Brooke. I work at Outdoor Pursuits. I'm also one of the voyage coordinators, which we'll talk a little bit about. But I also just kind of help with the staff at Outdoor Pursuits.
I'm Audrey. I'm the EDI coordinator at Outdoor Pursuits, and I'm also a voyage coordinator. And we both have been working here for like about a year-ish. And yeah, so we're just gonna explain what Outdoor Pursuits and Voyages is. Outdoor Pursuits, we're a program on campus, and we allow students and community members to rent gear at like surfboards, kayaks, really anything that you would need to go out into nature with. And we also host student-led trips such as surfing, backpacking, climbing. And then this is just a program that allows students and community members to get out into nature and to like explore the area around them. And it's also a good way to like make friends and to find a sense of community within the university, because college can be like a hard transition for some people. I know I really liked Outdoor Pursuits my freshman year because it helped me make friends in like sports, or not sports, but like in outdoor activities that I found interest in, and you really don't need any experience. So
yeah, we try to make our trips very accessible. They do come at a price, but it's very discounted for students. Same with gear rentals. They're very easy to do. We try to make it accessible. And again, they're pretty cheap. We're trying to encourage you to get outside as best we can. But yeah, that's about Outdoor Pursuits. Another thing that Outdoor Pursuits does is Voyages, and Voyages is a 5-day orientation sort of thing to right before orientation starts. So it gets new prospective students, so that's transfers and freshmen, out into the outdoors. So there's like backpacking and kayaking, whitewater rafting. Those are some of the trips that we do. They're led by students, so you get to know people who are already on campus, have gone through this whole thing. And its goal is just to sort of acclimate you into college life. So when you start college, you already know a couple people, and you know them really well because you're just 5 days outside and outdoors with them. But yeah, it's super fun. We both went on voyages. We loved it. We've both led voyages. It's a really amazing experience. But yes. No? But that's our little spiel.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And just to be clear, I know it's been kind of referred to as Outdoor Pursuits and Voyages, and it sounds interchangeable. Can you just kind of one more time go over the differences between what Outdoor Pursuits is and what Voyages are?
yes, so Outdoor Pursuits is the program on campus, and Voyages is ran by Outdoor Pursuits. And Voyages is primarily like a 5-day long summer activity. And Outdoor Pursuits is all year round.
Awesome. So Outdoor Pursuits is also the department that houses the major and the minor. Is that correct for outdoor leadership? Okay, awesome. So we do have the outdoor leadership department here, but this we also have a trip for all of our incoming students who are kind of new and maybe feeling a little shy and going into orientation where there's going to be hundreds of new students. You want to come a little bit earlier to hop into an Outdoor Pursuits voyage trip. And then this is a great time and it's for all new incoming students. And so you're not going to be the only new person in the group. You're going to be there with all new students incoming to Pacific. So you kind of have a chance to be able to bond with some other students who are also new. One of the questions that came in here is when does registration open for outdoor for Voyages?
It opens April 1st.
April 1st, awesome. And in order to be able to register, are there specific, I guess, requirements? For example, can they just be an admitted student, or do they have to be committed to Pacific before they register? What are the certain steps to that?
Yeah, so you don't have to be committed to Pacific yet. If you're just interested in a voyage, we totally encourage you to apply. There's no stress if you have to cancel. Like before June 1st is when we start getting a little iffy about that, but as you don't have to be committed to register.
Awesome. And are there is it like unlimited in terms of the different types of like seating available? So
yes, so there is limited spots. We're doing 6 trips this year and there's 9 participants on each trip, so it is limited. But we'll let you know early June what trip you're on.
awesome. So does that mean that the students aren't able to choose their trip, or?
So you can't choose your trip, you pick your top 3 trips and we'll place you on which one best fits.
Awesome. Okay, so kind of like on a first come first served basis.
Yes, correct.
Okay, good. And then if they're not able to attend the voyage for the incoming students, because for example, I know we have some athletes who have to be here on campus a little bit earlier, and that kind of doesn't allow them to be able to participate. Are there still other opportunities throughout the year for students to participate in a voyage trip?
Well, not necessarily a voyage trip, but we have a few overnight trips. I know we hosted in the past like a 3-night backpacking that would be run over spring break and fall break, and then just smaller trips like that, but not a complete voyage.
Okay. And are there weekend trips in the fall? So is it not during the weekday when the students might be a little bit committed with the schoolwork?
Yeah, so most of our outdoor pursuits trips run on Saturdays. And then the fall break trip is generally our only overnight trip, and that one is over a weekend.
Okay. Do you ever do any mountain climbing over in Mount Bachelor or Mount Hood area?
Yes, most spring semesters we do a series called summit series.
Changes the
Yeah,
name.
it does. But where you summit Mount St. Helens. The mountain depends on weather and all that, but yes, mountain climbing is definitely in there.
And in order to go on these trips, because I know we had mentioned that Outdoor Pursuits is a department on campus, these students have to be a part of the Outdoor Pursuits major or minor or take classes before they are able to participate in any of these outdoor trips that are coming up, including Voyages?
No, they do not have to be in the major or the minor at all. They can just sign up with it. Some trips may be accompanied with the classes within the minor and major, but other than that, no.
Okay, and how much experience do students need in terms of the outdoors part? Because I can tell you, I don't have a
None.
lot, so I'd be intimidated. None at all.
Nope.
None at all.
Awesome. And fun story. I did have a student a few years back who went on, I think there was a beach camping trip at Puget Sound, and it was him, and coincidentally everybody in the group was actually from the California area. And they set up their tent and they're like, great, when do we check into the hotel? And they're like, nope, this is where you're sleeping. So this is all purely outdoors. Everything is going to be out in nature. And I know 1 year it also kind of coincided with when we had the eclipse happen, though that was really cool to be able to be in an area where people were driving hundreds of miles to be to be able to view the total eclipse that had happened. So a lot of fun things. And I know that both of you had mentioned that both had been on voyages. Could both of you maybe share some of your experiences before I head into our next set of questions here?
Sure. So we ended up being on the same trip, actually. We were on backpacking. And it's really good bonding. I mean, obviously now we're friends and that's exciting. And we all kind of became friends, all of us on our voyage. And I learned a new skill. I hadn't been backpacking before, and now I love backpacking and I do it pretty often. So yeah, it's just really good. And I got to know more spaces in the Pacific Northwest. I'm not from here, so it was cool to kind of see outside of the campus too before really getting to know Forest Grove itself.
Yeah, me too. I've never went backpacking before, and it was tricky the first few days, but then after a while, it just got really fun. I like being disconnected from technology. I think that was one of the best parts because it in a way forced us to all talk with each other. And then yeah, then we just now say hi to each other on campus. We're not as close, but then I know a lot of voyages where all of them are still really tight friends.
That's awesome. Do we offer ski classes? I know that's a question that we get often as well too.
Yes. There is a ski and snowboard class mostly in the spring semester. I know there's one going on now and there was one last year.
So do students need to bring their own skis? I know that's another question. Like what do they do with equipment if it's a class? Is there additional class fees? If it's like a credit class like the ski class that they'd have to pay in order to participate?
There is a fee to sign up for the class, but that's with most H-Per or human performance classes. I'm not sure of the price, but it is a skiing and snowboard class that is ran on Fridays from 2 p.m. and then it goes through the night. They don't need to have their own gear because they'll get it up at the mountain. And then when they're on the mountain, then they do lessons.
Awesome. And I do know sorry, go ahead, Brooke.
Yeah, sorry. All transportation is provided.
Thank you. I was just about to say that. I know that was the other question. I did have one of our student workers who took the class and just loved the night skiing that he was able to do. So of the various voyages offered, what would be the best for someone who wants a really challenging experience? Maybe they're kind of a little bit more in tune with being in the outdoors, something that's a little bit more challenging. Is there a specific trip that you would recommend?
Backpack canoe?
Yeah, backpack canoe is a good one. So you're out in the backcountry, so it's a little more rugged. Backpacking, I feel like in general, it's pretty rugged. You're carrying everything you need on your back. But you also have canoe in there, so you get in the water, you get to try safe exits or canoe rescues. So that one's I think that's our most rugged, I would say.
That's also. Do you know where we're going for that trip this year?
It's Central Oregon. It's along the Deschutes. One of those.
Okay, awesome. And then how do you become a voyage leader? It sounds like someone's already pretty excited about being a part of Voyages here. How did they become someone like you?
Yeah, so we already have our voyage leaders for this year, so it starts as a fun little process. There's an interview process, and you don't have to necessarily be on a voyage before to be a voyage leader, but it's just people who are passionate about the outdoors, have a little bit of experience doing the sport that they're going to lead, but also just helping students, are excited to introduce students to the outdoors, but also to Pacific. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then I did also get another question here for the voyages. Transportation and food, is all this provided, or is that something that students will have to make sure that they have ready?
Sorry.
No,
It's paid for in the price that they pay when signing up. So then, yeah, all food and transportation and gear.
Perfect. Let me go ahead. I'm actually going to share my screen here so we can kind of look at the website together about the different trip types that are happening for Voyages. And we have the wilderness voyages, so the backpacking and canoeing in Central Oregon that was mentioned here. Sea kayaking on the Puget Sound, that was the trip that the students went on, thinking that they were going to check into a hotel after pitching their tent. Rafting in Deschutes, that's actually the group that was able to see that total eclipse that happened a few years back. Backpacking, and then we have the multi-element adventure in Central Oregon and local adventure near Forest Grove. Can you talk a little bit about the local adventure near Forest Grove? I know for some students, you know, coming to college itself can also be already kind of a big transition, and you know, possibly thinking about going on another trip far away can be a little intimidating. So this might sound like a great trip for somebody who wants to do something a little bit local. Could you go into a little bit more detail about that trip?
Sure. So that one's more based for people who want a beginner experience with the outdoors. It's also, we are trying to gear it towards more like accessible. We're going to work with that trip with Adventure Without Limits, which is also a local company that's in Forest Grove. But that one's just like there's berry picking, there's hiking, kayaking, paddleboarding. But you're just going to like Hag Lake, which is just 15 minutes away. There's some state parks that are a couple minutes away too. Sorry.
That's so
Okay.
cool. And then I'm going to share my screen one more time. And this actually talks about the registration for Voyages. So again, I'll share these links on the chat box here, but I'll also include it in the video description box of the YouTube channel for those who are watching the recording. The Voyages registration is going to open April 1st, just like Brooke said. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and click on this link for the email, and the department will be able to answer it. And you have some of the information here. All voyage trips are 5 nights and 4 days. The cost is $475 per participant with a $25 deposit. And there is a financial discount for those who need help paying for this trip, so that way everybody has the opportunity to be able to go on these trips here. So is there a surfing voyage this summer? Ooh, that's a really good question.
Usually we do have a surfing voyage, but since we are operating out of a different space because our old space is getting renovated, we won't do our surfing voyage this summer.
But that is an exciting thing for Outdoor Pursuits. We are renovating our space, so these new incoming students will get a nice, fancy new space to see.
I know, we always love going and stopping by to see all the equipment that you guys have all out. And so we're a little sad that you guys are closed for the renovation, but it's so exciting to be able to hear that there's going to be some new and updated things that are coming for this new incoming student group here. I do know that there have been some trips that were mentioned, like the windsurfing trip, or I believe is I think if any of my colleagues are in here, it was the Costa Rica trip. I think that's a windsurfing trip, but so these trips, we have 3 different types of trips, if you kind of want to think about it that way, just to kind of clarify for those families who might be a little bit confused. We have our study abroad trips, which are the 2-week study abroads. And that includes like that Costa Rica trip, for windsurfing, where students are actually taking a class. So it's a full kinesiology class to go on the windsurfing trip there. Voyages and Outdoor Pursuits falls under a different department. So Outdoor Pursuits, it's the major that they are going in. And then Outdoor Pursuits has trips for their majors and minors, whereas the voyage trips are more for those students who are not taking a class, or they can be, but maybe just interested in doing like a weekend trip on a hike or something. And so we have a few different types of trips that are available for students who are interested. So hopefully that clears things up, because I know there was some confusion there. In order for students to be able to qualify for the financial discount, do we have any information that you'd be able to share for those who do need a little bit of assistance to be able to attend these voyages?
Yeah, just send out an email to, what's the email? Okay, yeah. Just send an email out to that if you want to know if you qualify for that specific grant, and then we'll look their name up and then we'll get back to them as soon as we find out.
But also
Perfect.
before registration opens, we will send out a blast email to those people who do qualify for the
Oh,
grant.
that's awesome.
Looking for that, yeah.
That's so great to hear. So it sounds like the students will all get some communication if they qualify for a scholarship so that they are aware that resource is there. That's always great to hear. And so definitely check your email, students. And that's something that you'll be hearing a lot for those our students who are kind of starting to get ready for that transition into college. Checking your email is going to be very important, especially once you are a student at Pacific. The admissions office, we try our best to communicate with students and parents so everybody is in the loop, but once you are an official student here, your email communications is going to come directly to you, and your parent or guardians may not be getting the same communications. So just make sure to be checking your email regularly, and hopefully we'll be able to see you on a voyage trip. Can you talk a little bit about the last question that I have here is talk a little bit about how orientation works with Voyages and kind of the dates and what that looks like?
Sure. Sorry. So for Voyages, you would move in the 18th and then the trips start the 19th. So then you're gone until the 23rd. The 24th is when orientation starts. So you get back that day before and then orientation starts right then. So there's no overlap. It coincides really well. And there's plenty of people on campus to help you as well with moving in, any questions you have, all of that.
That's exciting. So for the parents who are dropping students off, and I know this is a common question that we get as well, how does parent orientation look like? Do they need to come back for the main orientation session, or is the voyage orientation enough information for parents?
Yes, so the 18th when you move in, there'll be plenty of activities going on, and there will be a parent orientation that day too. So there's no need for parents to come back. You of course can if you would like to, but there will already be an orientation that will give you all the information that everyone else will get on the 24th.
Thank you so much. It doesn't look like I'm getting too many additional questions here. Is there any other last things that you might want to add in before we conclude the session today?
No, we're just excited. Yeah, Voyages is fun. We love Voyages.
Perfect.
Please join. We're excited.
Awesome. And for those of you who are joining us live during the session, there are a couple of links I'm adding into the chat if you want to go ahead and click on it and save on to those tabs there. But I will make sure those links that we've discussed and the screens that I shared with you is also going to be available with the recording on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for coming today to share about your experience and promoting the Outdoor Pursuits Department, as well as the upcoming voyage trip. We're very excited that we are kind of back in session. I know it was kind of on hold for a couple years with COVID, and last year we were able to get into the swing of things, and hopefully we are back full swing this year. So thank you everyone for hopping in. If there's any other questions, feel free to email us, or you can also email Voyages. Again, that email link will be included in the YouTube link channel. Next week, we actually have our Student Health Center who is going to be joining us to talk about what students can be doing and what type of documentation is needed. This is a very important process, especially for students who are committing. If there are certain health documents that do need to be submitted, that I want to say a good 20% of students might disregard and realize in October that they can't register for classes. So what does registration for classes have anything to do with the health center? We're all going to discuss that next week. So definitely invite you to come back at noon next week for our next session with Lunch with the Boxer. Thank you so much, Outdoor Pursuits. Thank you, Rocio here, who was here translating in Spanish for us and our families. And we will see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.